Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped, back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, it is the first day of spring over here in Australia, and in today's video, we're doing my very first Japan tier list. So, buckle yourselves in, because this one's going to be a bit of a long one, as there are a lot more legends over here on the Japanese side of the game, compared to the global side of the game. So, like I said, in today's video, we will be ranking all of the legends, and big shout out to OPTC tier list maker, well, the tier list that I've actually custom put together, as well as the database for images provided. I'll leave a link for both those in the description below, but this video did take me a little while to actually put together, so please make sure to smash the like button if you are enjoying today's video. If you're new to the channel, hit that big red subscribe button too. We do upload OPTC videos every single day. We do stream every Monday, so hit that little bell notification if you guys want to be notified when I am streaming, and to stay on top of all of my stuff. So, what is the OPTC tier list? How do I rank my legends when it comes to a tier list? But I have a bit of criteria. So before we start, this is just my personal opinion from playing the game. I have been playing Japan for a little while now. I've been playing global for about 4 years. But I have got a feel for most of the legends on Japan, and I have had a lot of people ask me with my global tier list that they would love to see a Japan tier list. So here we are. Another big reason I am doing a Japan tier list a little bit earlier than I was sort of anticipating to do. So I totally forgot to put Bonnie on my global tier list. In true spoon fashion that Stump does perform with. We did forget to put Bonnie on, so I thought, hey, instead of remaking a global tier list, let's just make a Japan one. So this is my criteria that I do like to use when I am ranking characters. Usability is the big one for me. How useful is that character? Where are they going to see the most play? And how often are you going to actually use that character? Now, as you guys know, one character doesn't just beat every piece of content in the game. I do have my opinions on who I think the best characters are, or who are the characters that can sort of do things, most things, the best. But it does get broken down into a few different categories. We do have power, we do have color, class, and special. The power sort of revolves around their sort of captain ability and how strong, the amount of damage they can output, as well as their stats. Their color, so each month the meta slowly shifts, and colors do get a little bit better or worse depending on what characters are released. And as of September 2021, there are some colors that are better than others. Same with classes, that sort of goes to the same thing. With the class sort of the character, powerhouse, cerebrals, free spirit, stuff like that are always going to be a little bit more ranked a little bit higher at the moment than stuff like, say, fighter, strikers, or like shooters, for example. Finally, their special ability, sort of like how good of a special they have, how useful their special is, and how often you'll actually see that used. Now, I do have a bunch of tiers here. As you can see, there are a lot more tiers than my global tier lists. So we will sort of like have them shift a little bit as time does go on. And as sort of the, as we sort of add more characters in. So the first tier we have is the God tier list, the God tier. The God tier is basically characters that can be used as a captain, can be used as a sub. They're just good in lots of different areas. Next we have the S tier captain, we have the S tier sub, A tier captain, A tier sub. So some of the highest captains, some of the best subs, some of the sort of good captains that you can kind of hybrid with those S tiers, and then A tier subs as well. Solid hybrid sort of refers to as like a B tier sort of situation where they work very well with the captains in the S tier, or can be worked very, very well with the God tier characters. Now, solid hybrid and below is kind of like up to you if you want to sort of level them up. I would sort of focus on your A tier subs and above if you are looking for characters. Mainly the S tier subs if you are a new player and above. They're the characters you want to focus on. The next tier I have is content required or niche. Now, I would only level these characters up if the content requires you to do so. If you are looking for an option to actually beat that particular piece of content. As I mentioned, there is not one team that beats everything, and there are a lot of good rare recruits in the game, but obviously legends are sort of the ones you want to sort of invest your materials into, as you're going to get the most lifespan out of them. Next is like rare recruit tier, so like kind of like outdated characters that have kind of been replaced by rare recruits, but can still see play if you are missing those other or newer rare recruits. Support, basically with these characters, you just want to get their support to level 5 and just call it a day. I like this tier a lot, purely because over on Japan, there are a lot of characters that I have that I just can't be bothered leveling up, but have very, very good supports. Finally, it needs a 6+, or just straight out dookie. You don't have to worry about these guys. I will scroll down every now and again so you can have a look at them. I feel like putting the support just a little bit higher, because that's kind of more viable or more useful, and there's not going to be that many characters I feel in that particular tier anyway. But other than that, yeah. So like I said, I did put this tier list together myself. So I apologize that it is pretty chunky, but let me know your comments, your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I am very intrigued to see what you guys have to think about my opinions, as well as give your own opinions. I truly cherish everyone's opinions, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say. There's no such thing as a wrong opinion, so go ham in the comment section, but remember to be respectful to others as well. So with that said, let's dive in. So the first character, the very first character. Oh, something else to know as well. I haven't included PvP like I do on my global tier list on this particular video, purely because I didn't want to have more than like 10 tiers, and I want to focus on the crux of the game, the main sort of content, like stuff like forests and garbs challenges, Kazuna, treasure map, regular content, clashes, arenas, coliseums, that sort of stuff. So the first character we have is V1 Whitebeard. V1 Whitebeard, unfortunately, he's just dookie nowadays. He's a great PvP unit, but other than that, you're never going to use him. Next, we've got V1 Boa. She's got a pretty good support. I would have a look at using her support, but if there was like a content required support category, she would definitely fit the bill there. She's actually very dookie otherwise. Her support actually isn't that great. I don't really use it on Japan, so I'm going to put her in dookie. Next, we've got 6+ Sabo. Just absolute dookie. You don't need 6+ Sabo. He's been replaced by rare recruits completely. Usopp. If the content requires you for a delay conditional, this Usopp can be good, but otherwise, you don't have to worry about it. He does give guaranteed delay. This Luffy has quite a good support. The downside is his name is Luffy. Whether you use him or the time skip Luffy, the 6+, both of them basically do the same thing, I think. I think they both do the same thing. Alright, the first character that's going to make their way to the top is Rayleigh. V1 Rayleigh 6+, if you can 6+ his character, make sure to do so. He is very, very good. 7 turns of Blind, Despair, and Paralysis removal, as well as having a very good Sailor of reducing his cooldowns by 1 turn whenever anyone else uses a special. He's an in character, he's a slasher, he's very good classes, so definitely an S tier sub, and he actually has one of the best supports in the game as well. But I love using this character. I use him whenever I can. Very, very good unit. Next, we've got V1 Lucci 6+, absolutely dookie. Shanks, you could make an argument that he has a pretty good support for Psy characters that do damage, I think. He just gives you a full board of Psy orb, so you can use him there. V1 Kuzan has just been absolutely replaced. Same with Ace. Mr. Meme Goku has quite a good support, actually. 2 times attack for the character that uses their special. So he's actually a pretty good unit. 6+ Hody has a good support for the Fishman Pirates. If you get special reverse, you can roll your specials forward. V1 Mihawk, like, if the content requires you to do so, you can use him. But nowadays, like, he pretty dookie. 6+ Zoro V1 has a great support for Mihawk characters, so there's that. We have V2 Law, sorry, has a very good support for Corazon, 1.7 orb boost, so he can be used as a very good support. V1 Croc 6+ is just dookie. Bandai, give us V2 Croc. He has some of the best supports in the game. Give us V2 Croc. He's just so outdated nowadays that it is what it is. Bardo, 6+ Bardo has a very good support for Robin, 3 turns of paralysis removal. Lucy. V1 Lucy. Well, under 6+ Lucy. When the content requires you to use Lucy, like, you can because of the carryover effect. He gives you that buff where you hit a certain amount of perfects, you get an attack buff. So you can actually get around stuff like attack. When you like do an attack buff, they have an interrupt. But supports have kind of been better at that. But look, don't get me wrong. He's a good attack booster for 3 colors. So, like, quite a solid unit. Mr. Judge. Judge is pretty niche, honestly. Like, he's pretty good. I guess you could say, like, rare recruits have probably replaced him. But he does 7 turns of blind removal, which is, like, up here in Rayleigh's tier, but it's only blind. He is a 2 times orb booster as well. So when the content requires you to use him, he is pretty good. We've got V2 Doflamingo. V2 Doflamingo needs a 6+, to be honest. Like, he can still be hybrided up, like, with, like, good driven captains, because he's, like, a solid hybrid option. But, like, he really needs a 6+. Like, that overkill damage is, like, it just doesn't cut it anymore. His special's basically useless, so he needs a 6+. Luffy and Ace, another character that needs a 6+. Bandai, just give us dual unit 6+. Like, they are still, like, when they first came out, they were just god tier. But nowadays, they're just, look, it is what it is. V1 Law has a pretty good support, gives cooldowns on the final stage. V2 Shanks. V2 Shanks probably, like, honestly needs a 6+. Like, his captain multiplier 3.25 is really low. If you limit break expand him, that's great, but I'm not taking that into consideration because the materials you need is so damn high. If you've limit break expanded him, solid hybrid, I guess. But, like, otherwise, like, I guess you could put him in, like, above rare recruit tier. Yeah, you could probably put him in rare recruit tier. As he can sort of, Like, I mean, he is a pretty good sub, actually. Like, 2.25 to a, like, the color of the 4 colors, as well as a chain buff and block orbs. I guess he's a solid, like, he's an A tier sub. Yeah, I guess he's an A tier sub. Plus, he's Shanks, so you know, like, I'm going to be biased. But I guess he's sort of like rare. Nah, he's definitely better than a rare recruit. A tier sub. Akainu and Kuzan. These guys are interesting. They, they actually need a 6+ in my opinion, so badly. Like, they really need a 6+. Their captain multipliers are really, really low. They rotate block orbs, and then they give you a very high, orb boost. I guess you could say that they're rare recruit tier. Yeah, I guess we'll put them in rare recruit tier, because they're definitely better than all of these characters here. Definitely better than all these characters here. I guess, like, Luffy and Ace, you could say rare recruit tier as well. Full bot orbs, 2 times the orb boost. I guess you could put them there. Kizaru, he's just dookie nowadays. He's good in Rumble, though. Really, really good in Rumble. Mr. Jinbei 6+ is definitely rare recruit tier. 5 turns of damage reduction, defense up. Most of the time, you're just using rare recruits, but he's immune to special reverse, so there is that. Buggy. When the content requires you to use Buggy to get dupes of those drops, Buggy's great. You guys know how good Buggy is. This Snake Man got a 6+. I guess he's a 2 times attack booster, so, like, I guess, like, rare recruit tier. Tessero. Honestly, Tessero, like, needs a 6+. Like, he needs a 6+, but he's definitely in rare recruit tier or above. Yeah, we'll put him in rare recruit tier. Like, he's a 3.25 times chain lock, and he gives some matching orbs. He's got a really good support, though. Like, a really good support, so you can do him. And he's a solid hybrid option if you have Limit Break expanded. But like I said, I'm not going to include Limit Break expansion into this tier list. 6+ Katakuri, sorry, 5+ Katakuri. I kept him here because he's a little bit different. I guess if the content requires you to do so, you can use him, but, like, he got a 6+, he's pretty dookie. Judge 6+ in my eyes is, like, I guess you could say rare recruit tier. It's an attack booster to Driven Powerhouse, which are very, very good. And he's an in-unit, so there is also that. Magellan, dookie. Don't worry about Magellan. Wako. Wako needs a 6+. Like, Wako is still a great captain. I would put them in rare recruit tier, but, like, you don't ever really use them as, like, as a sub. I guess you can put them in rare recruit tier just for, like, their switch ability. They have an amazing switch ability. Slot bind, paralysis, special bind removal. Guaranteed matching orb, which is really, really nice, too. So, definitely rare recruit tier, but I would love for them to see them get a 6+. Shiki. Shiki needs a 6+ so badly, he's actually dookie. Enel 6+ is absolutely dookie. Brook. When the content requires you to use Brook, I guess you could use Brook. He's pretty niche. He's a solid hybrid, stuff like Kaido, I guess, but, like, if you like that playstyle, go for it. But otherwise, like, you're never really using Brook. Corazon 6+, another S tier sub. Very similar to Rayleigh as having, like, a very, very good support. 2 turns of paralysis, bind, and despair, but for lore. But being able to remove 3 turns of basically every debuff in the game, as well as giving a very nice heal, has a very good limit break expansion, and has 2 very good classes and 2 very good sailor abilities. S tier sub. Sanji. The Sanji's got a pretty good support with the new mechanic on Japan, the new debuff. He's actually going to get a little bit better, so we'll definitely put him into support. Frankie has a pretty good support, 1.4 times attack boost to the 4 base colors. Zephyr. Zephyr needs a 6+ so badly. He's so dookie, like proper dookie. V2 Katakuri, another unit that definitely needs a 6+. I guess you could say rare recruit tier, but, like, you're never really using him for that, like, damage anyway. It's just so damn low. Dogstorm 6+ is actually dookie. Like, you're never using him unless it's in PvP. Neko does have a very good support, however. This Neko, 2 turns of attack down and bind on Chopper, which is great, as well as, like, stuff like Pedro and Carrot. Alright, where are we? Cavendish. Cavendish has got a pretty solid support as well. I do like Cavendish's support quite a bit. He goes on any quick character, 1.5 orbs, 1.5 attack, and he gives the matching orb when you actually use the special for any quick character, so that's pretty good. The original Snake Man. Original Snake Man's still a solid hybrid option. He is a rainbow captain. He has a very good special. As a captain, he has an even better special, so he's a solid hybrid option. You definitely can use him as a sub as well. So, like, you could argue he's an A tier sub because he's very similar to this Lucy with the carryover effect. But he shines the best as a captain. Like, that's his best option. But nowadays, I guess you're more useful using him as a sub. But he's definitely still a solid hybrid. He's definitely not as good as an A tier captain, though. Definitely not as good as an A tier captain. Alright, on to Bardo Cavendish now. Bardo Cavendish, for me... Oh. They're definitely at least an A tier sub. Driven's really good, and they're a very good attack boost there, but because they have an amazing switch ability, I'm actually going to put them in S tier sub. For Driven, they are definitely an S tier sub, and they are one of their go-tos, honestly. Like, they are definitely a go-to. They're like my go-to attack booster when it comes to driven-based teams. They are very, very good. And they do see quite a lot of play, especially on like Versakainu teams, Moria teams, stuff like that. You can definitely get some use out of this particular character. Their switchability is just what makes them so damn good, especially for stuff like forests and garb challenges and whatnot. Jack, when the content requires you to use Jack, like if you want XP buff, you're going to be using Jack, so he's up there in niche. V1 Dofi. V1 Dofi is really good in Rumble, but has a very good support for driven characters that can rotate orbs. This Boa is definitely rare recruit tier. She's a 2x color affinity to free spirits. Her original, like 6 stars, just Dookie. Don't even worry about that. But her 6+ for free spirits is a pretty good color affinity. This Big Mom, she Dookie. She's so Dookie. This Iso, also Dookie. You don't have to worry about that, Isu. Alright, on to Jumanji. Jumanji. For the same reason I have Bardo Cavendish up here, I really want to put Jumanji up here. Purely for powerhouses, they're such a good unit for stuff like forests. They're really, really good for powerhouse teams as well. 2x orbs, 2x attack, a great switch ability, completely remove special one on themselves as well. So very, very, very good unit. 6+ Akainu has quite a good support. That's pretty much the only reason you use him. Nami, 6+ Nami is pretty much rare recruit tier nowadays. Color affinity, orb boost, paralysis removal. I guess you could argue, like, because she's a pretty solid dex captain. Like, straight dex. I guess you could argue that she's a solid hybrid in terms of her captain ability. Yeah, you could argue to me that she's a solid hybrid captain. But most of the time you're using her as a sub. And I guess for that reason, like, you'd want to put her in rare recruit. But she does do a lot. Like, she definitely does do a lot. Laffy. I kind of want to put Laffy in just A tier sub. 2.5x orb boost, Rainbow is great. It's only for 1 turn, however, and that's pretty much all they do besides make some matching orbs. They do have a great switch ability, though, which is really, really nice. They are a Luffy and a lore unit. The downside I find to them are Dex and Quick, and they have, like, all different classes. That makes it a little bit hard to slide them on, like, teams that aren't Rainbow-based teams. So there is also that as well. Next we have Big Mom. Big Mom, Prometheus, and Zeus are really, really good for Kazuna. So, like, when the content requires you to use them, I guess you can use them. They got a good switch ability as well. And they can give that base stat boost that not a lot of other characters can do. Sabo Koala, another S tier sub. They are just amazing when it comes to their switch ability, giving color affinity to 2 very good classes, Free Spirits and Cerebrals. Great special, rotating block orbs and unfavorable orbs. They're still the only character that can remove that unfavorable orb debuff. So, look, they're just amazing. Neko and Ino. Like, they're a solid hybrid option just because Cerebrals are so good. And that's pretty much the only reason why they're a solid hybrid. If Cerebrals weren't that good, like, I would say, like, here maybe, but, like, they're a solid hybrid for Cerebral teams. Alright, V1 Shirashari. V1 Shirashari for me is an A tier sub. Like, you could argue to me they're an S tier sub for their 10 turns of removal of, like, any debuff. But I do find that just using V2 Shirashari is just way more valuable than them and then bringing other utility. The fact that they're just only for, like, attack down, they have gotten better, actually, with the new debuff of the chain multiplier growth debuff. Like, the attack down thing, but, yeah, A tier sub for me, just because I do think V2 Shirashari is better. We have Vivian Rebecca, still one of the best subs in the game. Cerebral unit, which is amazing. One of the best switch abilities, one of the best specials, completely removing defense up and damage reduction. It's still viable to this day, and they're going to age like goddamn fine wine. V1 Shirashari is, like, pretty niche. You mainly just use her for, like, rainbow orbs. But, like, you're pretty much using, like, Shirashari V1 if you're going to be doing that anyway. What's his name? Stampede Luffy. Stampede Luffy is honestly like a solid hybrid for me. You're never ever running 2 Luffys. Like, you're never ever running 2 Luffys. Where, like, in the A tier captain, where I want to, like, put some of the characters, like, you could argue that you could easily use 2 of them. Now, Stampede Luffy can be used, like, dual of them, but you're just never doing it nowadays. You're always going to be hybriding them up. You'd be silly not to. Stuff like Roger exists, so, like, I just don't understand why you would. But 10 turns paralysis, 10 turns of despair, very, very good unit. Here's a Luffy too, which helps out a lot. Bullet for me is still an S tier captain. I don't know what else to say. The fact he's rainbow, like, against all types makes him so damn good. His 3 orbs beneficial. He's a driven character. Like, I don't know what else to say about Bullet. He's still so good. The thing that lets him down is he's special, and that's why I've got him in a captain tier. Like, worst case scenario, A tier captain. Like, worst case scenario. But for me, The super effective against all types. He's still the best at clearing garbage challenges. Still the best. Like, hands down. V1 Kaido, another S tier captain. When Kaido works, he is amazing. And I've been putting him quite low on tier list because I've been talking about the entire game. But let's be real. When you're using this character in his best scenario, he's amazing. Even on the new content that just came out in Japan, like, Kaido was the one clapping it. Most people are using Kaido as their captain. And he came out, like, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Wild. Absolutely wild. V1 Katakuri is a solid hybrid option. His delay mechanic's really, really cool, but you're just naming it, like, hybriding him up with, like, good, solid in-captains. V2 Ace. Halloween Ace. When the content requires you to use Halloween Ace, he's good, because he has the special bind and the special reverse. I guess you could say he's a solid hybrid, actually, because, like, shooters got verse Ace, but fighters and shooters suck. So, like, for that reason, I only ever use this guy as support, really. Like, that's the big upside to using Ace. But the downside is verse Ace exists, and if you have verse Ace, you are never seeing this guy on a shooter team at least. But he has a very, very good support, and I guess you could argue he is a solid hybrid because of his utility. Just because of his utility. Yeah, just because of his utility. Komurasaki, another solid hybrid option for quick captains. She's very, very good. Damage reduction. I guess you could argue A tier captain, but I still don't think she's as good as stuff like Kaido and whatnot. Damage reduction, healing, very good special, 2 times orbs, 2 times attack. There's not much else to say. When the content requires belly as well, like, you could easily, like, say that she's here, but for me, she's a solid hybrid option. V2 Lucci 6+ has a great support, 1.5 to shooters on the final stage. Great unit. Chopper. Chopper, when the content requires you to get cotton candy drops, you are going to be using Chopper. Stuff like the ship missions, you're always using Chopper, basically. But he's an S tier sub. 5 turns of paralysis to spare, binds, special bind. He's got some great sailor abilities. He's got a great limit break expansion. He's a very, very good unit, and if you have him, definitely get him done. He's a cerebral character, and he's Psy. Like, Chopper's awesome, man. Chopper's just awesome. Luffy and Zoro. Luffy and Zoro, I really want to just put in an S tier sub, just because of their switch ability and their free spirit slashes. They're a Luffy Zoro, which kind of lets them down, but also gives them the benefit of being a Luffy Zoro character. 2.75 times orb boost is nothing to scoff at as well. Takes a while to build them up, but, like, it's definitely nothing to scoff at. And if you put them under, like, Odin and something, you can easily get that being a tandem, like that Wano being tandem, and stuff like verse Kaido. So, very, very good unit, very, very good sub. Submaster came alongside them, is very, very good too. Full board of tandem orbs, attack boost, 2.5, 1.75. He has the best sailor ability in the game, 4 turns of cooldown when someone else uses a sailor. A special, so S tier sub, definitely the spot for me. Lucy 6+ is a solid hybrid. He is just infinitely better than his 6+. He gives cooldowns. He gives a cooldown on his special. He's a free spirit character when he super evolves. He basically does the same thing otherwise, but other than that, he's very, very good. Robin 6+, when the content requires you to get damage null, you're going to be using Robin. She's quite good. Nami Robin. Nami Robin is probably an A tier captain for me. They're still like a 4.5 times. Their problem is they're a dual unit, though. Like, dual unit suckers. I guess they're like a solid hybrid nowadays. I want to put Nami down here in rare recruit tier, because, like, there's just rare recruits that do it better. And Nami Robin, like, you're using Nami Robin more than you're going to be using that Nami. 10 turns of paralysis is really, really good, too. Like, really, really good. As well as having, like, interesting switch ability. They're cerebral, too, which, like, gives them more viability as well. But their orb boost is only for Dex and int characters, so just be mindful of that if you are using them. Pudding. Pudding, when the content requires you to use Pudding, is basically when you will be using Pudding. Now, Pudding is probably, like, somewhere, like, here, to be honest, for what she can do, because she just ignores interrupts. And that's the big thing about her. But because of that, that's why I'm saying that this is when the content requires. I always overlook Pudding, but in saying that, too, like, she's very, very good. So, like, somewhere here is probably where she needs to be, but you're only really using Pudding when the content requires you to do so. Like, unfortunately, that's just the bottom line. Arlong Crew, very similar. You're only really using him for the special reverse stuff. Otherwise, his switch ability is great, but, like, you're not really using him for anything else. Alright, our first God tier unit. And yes, I am biased with this unit, but they are still a God tier. Shanks Crew. I don't know what else to say. They're one of the best hybrid captains. They have end of turn damage so they can get around resilience as a captain. Their switch ability is amazing, one of the best switch abilities in the game. 3.5 times chain lock for 3 turns. They're a cerebral unit, they're a Psy unit. I don't know what else to say. Like, they're still so good. Like, they're still so good. And they're gonna keep aging like crazy. They're just amazing. Absolute god. Absolute god. my eyes, probably the best Shanks in the game. Though Shanks is still very, very good, but in terms of usability, I do think this Shanks Crew is the most useful Shanks. V1 Marco 6+ is just, unfortunately, he is what it is. I guess you could argue that he's actually rare recruit tier, because he's definitely better than some of these characters in here. 2 times orb boost, big heal. Yeah, rare recruit tier. Alright, Mihawk and Perona. Mihawk, Perona, A tier sub. Purely because, like, they don't always work. If you have 2 or more, you get a guaranteed conditional, which is awesome. But otherwise, they're basically just a full border orbs through block orbs. But they are cerebral, so that's always nice. And they're strength inside, which makes them very, very good as well. V3 Rayleigh. When the content requires you to use V3 Rayleigh, you can use V3 Rayleigh. But otherwise, you're not really seeing too much of V3 Rayleigh. He was great. He's actually really good for, like, Garbs challenges and stuff because of his sailor abilities and whatnot. But otherwise, you're really not seeing too much play. I wouldn't focus on him, but, like, he can do some cool things if you've got the ability, like, the materials and whatnot. Mr. Whitebeard, Deadbeard. I feel like Deadbeard's a solid hybrid option. Very rarely you are using 2 Deadbeards, but, like, he's still very good because powerhouses are very, very good. Very similar to this Luffy, like, because this Luffy's powerhouse and he's quick, but, like, you could easily hybrid him up with something like this Kaido. You can easily hybrid him up with something like Versa Kainu. You can easily hybrid him up with something like Moria or Queen or King. So there is that option for you. I definitely wouldn't say he's an A tier captain anymore. He can go up to 4.5, but it's just very finicky to do so. V3 Kuzan. V3 Kuzan's, like, pretty good. Like, he's very similar to this Nami, actually. Like, orb boost, color affinity makes perfects easy to hit. Doesn't have any utility, so, like, I guess you could argue that he's on the same sort of level as this Nami. So I guess we're going to put him in, like, rare recruit tier. Just because, like, he's outdated. Like, he's just sort of, like, he could use a 6+, and, like, most of, like, some of these characters could. But, like, you can still use them. There's just rare recruits that can kind of do it as well, which is kind of a shame. So, look, it is what it is. Moving on to this ESO. This ESO is actually Dookie. I'll just try and scroll down for you guys so you can kind of see that. Yeah, ESO is just Dookie. Just don't worry about ESO. Any of the ESOs, to be honest, they all suck. Hopefully we get a good Fujitora in the future, though. Like, that would be really, really nice. Alright, Snake Man. This Snake Man's an A tier captain. He's kind of dropped off a little bit, but he's still very, very good. Like, very, very good. Rainbow captain, very, very good super typing. He's a Luffy unit. 5 times captain for strength, and he increases the chance of recovery. You're mainly using him as hybrids nowadays, but, like, he can still clear, like, content very, very easily. Very, very good unit. Super type Sabo. This super type Sabo has grown on me a lot. Like, a lot. Mainly because strength is so good. 2 tones of color affinity gets the carryover, so you can get around debuff. So, Sabo's really, really good. Katakuri. This Katakuri for me is an A tier sub because of his conditional, the guaranteed conditional delay. If he didn't have that, definitely not an A tier captain. And because, talking about that, this Blackbeard for that mine for me is just solid hybrid. Like, you're not ever using 2 Blackbeards. Let's be real. Like, he's the worst of the in-super typings in my eyes. But, unfortunately, it is what it is. Kid. Kid, honestly, like, nowadays, for Dex, is just like an A tier sub. Like, you can still use Kid as a solid hybrid option, but I feel like he's better than these characters. So, like, for me, I want to put him in an A tier sub. We will talk about why when we get to some of the other characters. Don't get me wrong, you could argue he's an A tier captain. Like, I'm not doubting that, but he's quite squishy nowadays, and there's just better options. There's just better options, and that's unfortunately the bottom line. If we go down now, let's have a look at Hawkins. Just needs a 6+. Dookie, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. He sucks. Same with Smoker. Smoker needs a 6+ too. 2.5 orbs and 2.5's attack is great. I guess you could argue solid hybrid because quick isn't terrible. But, like, it's Smoker. Like, or you could say, like, content requires for his attack down removal and whatnot. I'm actually going to put him in content requires for the attack down and the burn removal. You're never using him, though. Like, honestly, like, I couldn't tell you last time I used Smoker. 6+ Garp. 6+ Garp is an A tier sub. Very low cooldown with a 2-stage special, 3.25 chain lock, which is great. HP cut, powerhouse, Psy, free spirit. Like, there's a lot to like about Garp. He's probably the best Garp in the game as well, besides maybe the ambush Garp, but look, it is what it is. Sugar. Sugar's an S tier captain. She can do something that no one else can do with the bear mechanic. Bears go through paralysis, they go through bind. Everyone sort of forgets that as well. Stun, all that sort of stuff. And she has one of the best super typings in the game. Like, she can self-proc it. That's amazing. It's really, really good. V2 Rayleigh is great in terms of, like, Pirate Rumble, but at the moment, he's just kind of, like, rare recruit tier. Like, sure, like, these are sort of better than rare recruits, but, like, if you're missing costs and stuff like that, like, you're just using them as sort of, like, a sub, but, like, normally, like, the rare recruits will just take their place. Wano Kuni Law. S tier sub. Unfortunately, S tier sub. Like, he's very, very good as a captain. You're just not using him as a captain as much anymore because there are better options, and, like, he can't be anything lower. Like, I guess you could argue he's a god tier unit. Like, I use this guy so much. Like, he's one of my most used units. Like, easily. Hands down, one of my most used units. And I would definitely get him up as quickly as possible. For that reason, actually, I'm going to put him in god tier. Stuff it. Screw it. I'm putting him in god tier. He's one of my most used characters on Japan and global. Hands down. And he's aged very, very well. So, when he works really, really well. Plus, he's a lore character too. So, like, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with putting him in god tier. Boa. Super type Boa is an S tier captain. Has one of the best super typings in the game. 2.5 to Sai, which are very good. She's a free spirit unit as well. Self-procking super typings are always very, very good. Alright, we got 6+ Jinbei now. 6+ Jinbei is Dookie. Don't worry about 6+ Jinbei. Moving on to... Oh, Jumanji. Not Jumanji. What's his name? Sanji and Luffy. Luffy, Sanji are god tier for me. They're still amazing. They're one of the best switch abilities in the entire game. They're like Wako on steroids. Plus, they can give you overheal. They give a very good attack boost. Full board of recovery orbs through block slots. Sai and Strength, very good colors. Free Spirit, very, very good class. They're a god tier unit. Straight up, they're a god tier unit. The Sweet Generals. Sweet Generals are A tier captain. They're not the best, like, strength captain, but... And they're quite squishy. But, like, their despair removal is actually really clutch. Despair removal, honestly, in my opinion, in a captain is, like, the best thing you can possibly have. Purely because it just affects your captain. Like, it's great. I guess you could argue Solid Hybrid, though, if you really want to nitpick. But for me, I'm going to put him in A tier captain. Moving on to Mr. Beige. Yeah, Mr. Beige. Mr. Beige is more like if the content requires you to use him, because you're really only using him as for a big father effect. He has a good attack booster for Driven and Shooters, 2 turns, 2 times. But there's just better options, and the main thing you will be using this guy for is that big father effect, or like getting Katakuri to proc his conditional and whatnot. Halloween Mihawk. Halloween Mihawk, I would say Halloween Mihawk is a A-tier captain, purely because he has the paralysis removal in his kit, which is great, and he's an attack booster too. He does give you the perfect buff though, which is not as good as the clock debuff. And if we are talking about the next character, Law, I think Law is just better. The reflection damage, when the reflection damage works, and removing despair, as well as having the clock buff carryover, is really, really nice. If Law was an attack booster, it would just be so good. Look, the game never does Law dirty. Ever, ever, ever. It never does Law dirty. He has great support options as well. So, for Ints, he is a very, very, very good captain. Very, very good captain, actually. But, there are better in captains, to be honest. He can clear, but honestly, for like Garb challenges, he can clear them so well. Like when there are no normal attacks only. I guess you have to put them on the same pedestal, I guess. We'll put them on the same pedestal for now. Just because there's another in captain that I do want to talk about that I do think is better. Halloween Shanks is more of an A-tier sub nowadays. You could easily say that he's up here with the 3 Halloween slashes, but like, he's an A-tier sub, unfortunately. Yeah, that's what you're mainly using. You're mainly using a sub on this team. Cerebrals and Slashes, 3 turns color affinity, which is great, and that chain buff for Ints. But, like, honestly, I actually prefer to use this particular Shanks a little bit more. So, it is what it is. Alright, on to Kaido vs. Big Mom now. So, on to Kaido vs. Big Mom. We have lost Kaido, apparently. Hang on 1 second. Well, let's start with Big Mom, because I can see Big Mom. For me, Big Mom's a god tier unit. Like, straight up. The fact that she's, in my opinion, she's better than Kaido is purely because she has Sai in her kit. I still use her as a sub a lot, and you can easily use her as hybrid. She's amazing. She's really, really good. I do think that she's better than Verse Kaido. Oh, there we go. Found Verse Kaido. Verse Kaido is an S-tier captain, though. I do like Verse Kaido still. When you get his versatility to work, it's really, really nice. But normal attacks only just absolutely cuck him. And he is dex boosting instead of side boosting. And that's why I do think Big Mom is just infinitely better. Sorry. Sorry, all you Kaido lovers. Mr. 6+ Blackbeard. When the content requires you to get through barriers, it's great. But Carrot just does it better. So, like, we'll talk about her later. Mr. Akainu. Mr. Akainu, I would say, is an A tier captain. He's got a very, very good special. Very, very good captain ability. The downside to him is the whole dual unit cucking situation. You have to have strength, dex, and quick on the team. Otherwise, it's just GG. So, look, it is what it is. V2 Vivi Rebecca. I kind of want to put them in S tier sub just because they have built-in fear removal. And fear is so annoying to deal with. They do remove bind as well as special bind. And there are 2 times attack, 2 times orb. Very similar to this Jumanji. I mean, if Jumanji's going to be an S tier sub, then I do think that Vivi Rebecca has to be an S tier sub as well. Same with Shirishiri, V2 Shirishiri. The overheal mechanic is absolutely godly. And it's unparalleled as a sub. Like, the switch, just as a switch ability, busted, man. Absolutely busted. Mr. Odin. Odin's an S tier captain. You're mainly hybriding this guy up, but the fact that you can get 1-0 orbs, and when you have a 1-0 orb, he's over a 5 times captain. Odin's really, really good. He's just a bit finicky to use, but if you hybrid him up in the right way, like especially with Bullet, they're awesome together. Like, they're really good. Plus, he's a really good orb booster as well, like a really, really good orb booster. I do think he's better than most of these S tier subs as well, but most of the time using a sub on the Pirate King team himself, Goldie Roger, the best unit on both versions of the game, the most valuable unit. Him and one other unit we'll talk about later are the most, like, valuable. Be ready if you haven't got him on Global. He is coming in, like, 10 days' time. And if you don't have him on Japan, well, New Year's is the time for you because he should be coming back then. Ideally, you just want to get your hands on him. He's really, really good. You can live without him, but, like, he's still amazing. Best side captain in the game as well. Like, best overall captain as well. 6+ Zoro is honestly, like, pretty dookie. Like, you're never really using 6+ Zoro. Same with 6+ Mihawk. Same with 6+ Sanji. They're honestly, like, they're okay. But, like, they're nothing too flash. I guess you could argue that they're rare recruit tier. Like, worst case scenario, you could argue that they're rare recruit tier to me. But, like, I would rather use rare recruit over them. Like, rare recruits over these characters. Most of the time, I would rather use rare recruits over them. But they definitely can be used on those particular teams. Sanji and Pudding. Sanji and Pudding, I feel like you just got to put in S tier sub as well. I can't really separate these 3 legends. They're all really, really good on the same team. Normally, like, if I am running, like, because they're all cerebral based now, like, once upon a time, I felt like this was probably the best cerebral captain with, like, a hybrid option of this. Then you use this one at, like, Vivi Rebecca as a sub as well. But nowadays, there is a better leader, but the 3 of them together as subs is just absolutely wild. Like, they can just do some absolutely busted things. They have a switch ability that no one else has, Sanji and Pudding. So, yeah, I think they all should be S tier subs, like, without a doubt. Like, without a doubt. Alright, so keep it at the top of the tier list. I'm kind of, like, running out of room to see, though. Hold up, let's see if I can just, like, shift a little bit. Alright, awesome, I can see now. Alright, moving on to Super Type Zoro. Super Type Zoro is an A tier captain because he has special bind removal in his kit. Amazing orb boost as well. Very, very good unit. Super Type Kaido as well, I feel like is an A tier captain because he can auto-trigger his special. When Super Type Kaido works, he works amazingly. But he does get cucked very, very easily. And because of that reason, I don't love Super Type Kaido. But I can't deny what Super Type Kaido can actually do when he works. 2 times extra damage is great. The downside is full immunity is a thing, and that sort of cucks Kaido a little bit. He has a full board of orbs, and he can get around mechanics that involve rotating orbs as well. So there is that, so you can kind of break him a little bit. And for that reason only, I am going to put him in A tier captain. I wish my puppy would stop barking. Apologies about the barking in the background. Moving on to Enel now. Enel is basically just a solid hybrid nowadays if you are utilizing Psy-based teams. When the content requires you to actually use... Puppy, go away. When the content requires you, like, you have the end of turn damage, so, like, he is quite nice, and he's pretty niche. But in saying that, he's a pretty good Psy captain, so solid hybrid for me. Moving on to... Verse Akainu and Verse Ace. I'm just immediately going to just do this for both of them, and we can just talk about both of them at the same time. I think they're both god tier still. I do prefer Ace over Akainu, just personally, but I do think they're sort of on par with, like, in terms of their power. Akainu's low-key broken, because he can just, like, take damage and then just automatically burn, and then the conditional's great. Where Ace's conditional is stronger, but it's not guaranteed. But I do think that Ace's, like, colors and classes are a lot better. So I think Akainu is probably a better unit, but Ace is just more usable. So with that, it kind of just is what it is. But in saying that as well, they are both very, very good units. Alright, 6+ Nami. 6+ Nami. honestly, like, she's a solid hybrid option. She's a great sub, though. Like, she's a really, really, really good sub. She is a solid hybrid captain, mainly because she's, like, rainbow and she can give color affinity captains and whatnot as well. But most of the time, you will be using her as a sub. She now has color affinity. She still has the defense down conditional, as well as removing completely of defense up. Who's the next character? Magellan. Magellan is probably an A tier captain for me. He's still one of the best quick captains in the game, and he has very, very good special in terms of his bind removal, burn removal, and he can get that attack boost off when he works. Very similar to Kaido. I do prefer him over Kaido, but in the certain situation, if they both work, I feel like they're both just as good as each other. But if they both don't work, they're both just as good as each other as well. But Magellan just has more utility, so I do think he's a little bit better than Kaido per se. Is he an S tier sub? He might be an S tier sub. Because you can get the poison off, and then you can get the attack boost with double special. 6 turns of bind is pretty good as well. Yeah, you could argue to me that he's an S tier sub. Definitely argue that he's an S tier sub. We've got 2 Magellans here, so I'm just going to stick another Magellan, like, over there. Nope, okay. Well, let's bring Magellan back down here. Alright, sorry I have to scroll down, but unfortunately, look, it is what it is. Hopefully you guys are watching the whole thing, and if you have skipped to the end and you're wondering why you can't see everything, well, suck a dick. Onto V3 Blackbeard. I guess V3 Blackbeard is just a solid hybrid option nowadays. He's really, really good for driven powerhouses, but he's just a dual unit that wants to be a captain, and we all know how that works. Like, when it's a dual unit that wants to be a captain, there's only one dual unit that I can sort of, like, warrant as a captain, and that's Luffy Sanji, to be honest. I guess Sanji Pudding as well, but, like, even still, like, there's just better options. For cerebrals anyway. So, Blackbeard, solid hybrid. Alright, let's scroll on down again, and let's take a look at Moria now. Mr. Moria. Mr. Moria is going to go into A tier captain. Now, the reason I'm going to put him in A tier captain is because I do think that there are better driven powerhouse captains, and namely Versakainu. Like, straight up Versakainu, if I'm running driven powerhouse, I'm using Versakainu. It's basically the way of the law. Versakainu is a orb booster as well that goes through block orbs. He does give quick orbs, but, like, there is easy ways to abuse that, where Moria, sorry if I said Magellan, Moria doesn't have that privilege, but he's still a 2.5 times color affinity boost, and then the threshold, which is great, and he can get a lot of healing as well, so he's a very, very good unit. Very, very good at hybriding as well, I feel. Onto Cracker now. Cracker is a solid hybrid option for me. His, like sub capabilities have always been amazing, but now with his 6+, he's a 4.25 to powerhouses. So for that reason, I feel like he's more of a solid hybrid than he is A tier sub. I never really use Cracker anymore. He is a chain booster and he's a color affinity booster, which to me sort of suck. I'd rather use the chain locker and I'd rather use like a base stat booster than using color affinity. But as a 4.25 flat rate to powerhouses, and then he can trigger it himself, it's actually pretty good. 1.5 times HP to the base classes as well. Alright, back down. We're going to go for Mr. Beige. The Fire Tank Pirates S tier captain, because they're immune to blow away. I'm going to put them S tier captain. Actually, they're another dual unit I can warrant as a captain. I do think there's better driven captains than them, but in the certain situation, they are still very, 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 very good. Very, very good. Bonnie, another S tier captain. I love Bonnie so much. I think Bonnie is amazing, mainly because she can get around slot bind. She's one of the only characters that can. Fear resistance in her super typing, as well as removing special bind. She has a very, very good attack boost. Very, very good chain lock. The downside to Bonnie is she is very squishy. Very, very squishy. But you can just continuously cycle recovery orbs. And if you guys did get lucky to pull her on global, you guys will know what I'm talking about. She is a very solid unit. Plus, she is a rainbow captain as well. So you don't have to sort of segregate yourself to just int, which is really, really nice. Really, really nice with that recovery orb mechanic. Alright, scrolling back down. We're onto the Onigima Trio now, boys. The big ones. The big Onigima Trio. I feel like lots of people have been waiting for this. I'm actually just going to put them where I think they go. And then we're going to talk about them. So, Luffy and Law, in my opinion, are god tier. We'll quickly talk about who I think the most valuable is. I do think Law is the most valuable. He gets around resilience with his final taps. Cerebral Slashes are infinitely the best two classes, or the class combination, out of the three of the trio. Plus, he gets 1.5 extra damage through full immunity, which is just, it's going to be good moving forward no matter where you go. He's the Dex savior. He's the best Dex captain in the entire game, in my opinion. And for that reason, god tier. Luffy, I'm going to put in god tier too, because I do think Luffy is very, very good as well. Like, very, very good. The downside to Luffy is that he's got fighter in his kit. and that's what kind of hinders him a little bit. He doesn't, like Big Mom, he increases the chance of landing on recovery orbs. He can heal through perfects, which is very, very strong as well. It's another reason why I like Big Mom over Kaido. The healing is amazing. His special is great, but the fighter tag sort of lets him down a little bit, unfortunately. His final tap is a bit how you going. His super typing is okay, but not too amazing. As for Kid, the reason I don't want to put Kid in God tier is mainly because like there's just better strength options. We'll talk about them in a second, but in my experience, I just prefer to use Verse Ace, honestly. I just use Verse Ace a lot more when I'm running like strength teams because Free Spirit is just, they're just riddled with strength characters. On to Ace Sabo now. Ace Sabo, which will come out after them, is equal best unit in the game in my opinion. They are just as good as Roger in terms of value. Blind, Despair, and Special Blind removal with their special. Their captain, they remove 10 turns of Despair, 10 turns of Special Blind as respective to Ace and Sabo. 3 turns of Orb Boosting for 2.5 for Shooters and Free Spirits, and Block Orb Manipulation if you have Luffy as a support on them or on the team. Their Super Switch 2.25, Rainbow Color Affinity. They're so good. They're so, so good. I wouldn't go crazy for them on their banner, but they are so, so good. If you do pull them, be very, very happy. Very, very happy. Komurasaki. Komurasaki, to me, is a solid hybrid option. She's pretty good. Like, you could argue that she's an A tier sub because Int is really, really strong. I'm actually going to put her in A tier sub because of that reason. Just because Int is very, very good. On to Verse, Whitebeard, and Shanks. Now, I'm going to put them like I did with Kaido and Big Mom. And then we're going to go from there. So, I think they're both God tier units. I do think that Whitebeard is probably the best in-captain in the entire game, where Shanks just falls short, purely because this guy exists. Now, I do understand Roger's not a side captain, but you can still use him as a side captain. And because Roger exists, Shanks falls second. The downside to Shanks is his verse ability, but when it works, it is so good. When it works, it is so good. I do think it could be better, but when it does work, it is absolutely amazing. I do think Verse Shanks is better than all of these S-tier captains. And he's a very, very good sub. Rotating all orbs into matching orbs, giving an orb boost through block orbs is so damn valuable. Plus a base stat boost as well. Very, very good. Cyan, Int, both very, very good colors. Slashes, there's no issues with slashes. He's amazing. He's got a cerebral tag and he's sight. He's great. As for Whitebeard, his versatility is a little bit nicer. 90% damage reduction should never be discredited. And you only need to get 10 orbs of Psi or Int for both of these guys to get their verse abilities. Whitebeard's special, however, I don't think is as good as Shanks. He is an attack booster, and he can be an orb booster as well. Plus, he does the base stats. But without giving us the orbs, it does fall short a little bit there. But Whitebeard's still very, very good. I do think he is the best in-captain in the entire game. Moving down again, we're going to talk about Marco. Marco came out alongside them, and I do think Marco... and that's the reason why I dropped Law. Marco's an S-tier captain because he can auto-trigger his special. But... he does have overheal as well, which makes him very, very valuable. But you're never really running two. You want to hybrid him up. I find the Marco Bonnie hybrid combination or Marco Big Mom hybrid combination is just so damn good. Like, so damn good. Really, really strong unit. Definitely don't chase him, but, like, I would chase Whitebeard versus Shanks over him. But, like, he's still very, very, very good. Scrolling back down now, we've got Germa Sanji. Now, Germa Sanji for me is just an A-tier captain. Unfortunately for Germa Sanji... the downside to Germa Sanji is he looks really good on paper, but, like, you just never end up using him. He's just, like, it is what it is. 4 turns of Orb Boost, 4 turns of Attack Boost. He can be either. He auto-triggers at the start, which is really good for stuff like Treasure Map. But other than that, like, there's just better Psy Captains. I'd much rather use Verse Shanks. I'd rather use Wano Law, to be honest. But if you are using him, you want to be using him as a captain. You don't really want to be using him as a sub. So, for that reason, I want to put him in A-tier captain. I don't think he's good as a super type bowler, like, to be real. But he can output a lot more damage. His super typing is pretty cool, pretty quirky, but it's only 2 times for attack and orbs, so, like, there's also that as well. That's actually quite low, even though it is 4 turns of the attack boost and an orb boost. 6+ Germa. 6+ Germa, I really like this unit. We're going to put them in S tier sub because they give us 3 turns of captain swap. Very, very, very strong unit, like a very, very strong unit. For Psy. They're probably one of the best orb boosters for Psy, besides maybe Shanks. I think Shanks does it a little bit better, but they are very, very good nonetheless. The downside to them is they only boost Psy as their captain ability, so if you do get them as a captain swap, just be mindful of that. On to... Kizaru King and Queen. Ooh, 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 ooh. I love King and Queen. I really, really like King and Queen. Like, I really, really like King and Queen. Now, I don't think they're god tier because, like, I don't ever really use them as subs. But as captains, these guys are awesome. Queen especially, I love using Queen. I do think Queen is a little bit better than King, but you can't doubt what they do. They are the best powerhouse and driven captains in the entire game. Sorry, they are the second best behind Akainu. And they work very, very well when you hybrid them with things like Akainu. They can auto-trigger their special. Queen, as long as you use an orb boost, he'll auto-trigger on the next stage. King is the same for an attack boost. Now, King can abuse things like the switch ability of Shanks Crew, as well as the amazing sailor ability of Sobermask. They both give cooldowns as well, and you can auto-trigger them twice per turn. Very, very good units. I wouldn't go chasing them, but, like, as captains, man, like, they are so much fun. So much fun to use. And with Lucci's release, who we'll talk about in a second, like, they are just so damn good. Like, so damn good. They're very easy to hybrid up as well. You never really want to run 2 queens or 2 kings on the team. You either want to run them like hybrid captains, or if you're using king, you want to bring something like Sugar. If you're using, King, you want to use Sugar. If you're using Queen, you want to use stuff like, Kaido or Zoro and stuff like that. And you can just do some really, really cool things. Or you can always just hybrid them up with this guy here as well. Really, really fun units. Really, really fun. Toki. The Kizuna legend Toki. Toki's an S tier sub. She's just kind of a little bit broken in a way. If you partner up with the next legend that I'm going to talk about, she can do some wild things. 3.5 times orb and attack to 2 units will never be discredited. You can easily put them on your captains and you're immune to stuff like Bind, Despair, Paralysis, Blow Away, Stun, all of the things that affect that character, besides like Attack Down and stuff like that. Toki makes you immune to that, and it's just, it's wild. Then getting the 3.5 times attack and 3.5 times orb is awesome. Their super typing gives them like 5 turns of cooldown, so they are a pretty good captain as well. Like, you could argue they're an A tier captain, but for me, I'm always using Toki as a sub. You could like argue maybe they're S tier captain because like they can kind of do something similar to Odin. But they are quite squishy. They don't really give too many matching orbs, and they don't provide too much else besides just, like, solid attack. Alright, on to, the Straw Hat Crew. Straw Hat Crew are low-key becoming one of my favorite legends in the entire game. The downside to Straw Hat Crew is you lose 10 highly represented characters. That is the only downside I have to them, really. Their base attack multiplier for the rest of the crew could be a little bit higher than 4 times. But 5 times to themselves, as well as being super effective against all types at full HP, is very easy to abuse. I know it sucks being at full HP, but it is very, very, very easy to abuse that. They can rotate block orbs, they make all color orbs matching, their color affinity, they're an attack booster, their super typing gets triggered with their special, they give cooldowns. They do a lot. And then if you partner them up with Toki as a sub, and then you put it on the Straw Hats, and then you can remove 5 turns of any debuff in the game. Basically, you put the ability of Toki on the Straw Hats, the 2 Straw Hats, so they're super effective against all types. And it's like it's an unlosable combo, really. You can just do some wild things, and then just fill the rest of the team out with utility. Like, it's awesome. Like, it's really, really cool. Really, really cool. Very, very good legend. I think they'll age very, very well. But the downside, as I mentioned, 10 characters that you can't use on your team sort of sucks. Scrolling back down now, we're going to be looking at 6+ Sabo. 6+ Sabo, honestly, for me, is probably an A tier sub. Very similar to this Nami. Like, I think he got the same treatment as this Nami and Komurasaki. Komurasaki's kind of there because Komurasaki was just a good unit anyway. But he does something very different to what his original 6-star does. His 6-star would kind of be like rare recruit tier in my eyes. But he can give the burn mechanic. He gives an attack boost and a chain buff. Attack boosting is infinitely better. You could easily say he's a solid hybrid though. Definitely. But I can easily see him being used as a sub on most teams as well. Mainly for Verse Ace. That's where you're going to see most of his play. Alright, moving on to some of the newer legends now. We've got Vivian Rebecca. Reiju, I do think, is an S tier captain. Mainly because we don't have enough content to justify Reiju as a god tier unit. And if you are using Reiju, you are basically only ever using her as a captain. Like, unfortunately, it is what it is. But she has a very good super typing, powerhouse, and cerebral booster, as well as int. I do think she's up there as, like, the second best int captain, like, next to Marco. I'd probably say she's a little bit better than Marco because her super typing is better, but I do think that Whitebeard is better. But if there's poison, like, you are going to be using Reiju. The poison slot mechanic, she just absolutely destroys. 3 turns, orb boost, attack boost, 2.25 for powerhouse, cerebrals, and int characters. Her super typing's an orb boost. And then you can hybrid her up with someone like this girl right here, Vivi. Now, I do think Vivi is a little bit better. I do think Vivi is a god tier unit. Mainly for the same reason that Shanks is up here. She rotates block orbs into matching. No matter what. For your entire crew. She's an orb booster for Cerebrals, Powerhouse, Cerebrals, Free Spirit, and Strength units. Which are 3 very highly represented classes and color in the game. And she locks the orbs. Plus, she has a 2, like, she's like this Snake Man, but better. Like, I love this Vivi. And if you already have an orb boost, say you're running something like Odin on the team, because it's a free spirit, you're running something like Ace on the team, because he's a free spirit, she's not only going to extend it by 2 turns, but she's going to increase it by 0.25. Busted. Absolutely busted. In saying that, though, Reiju hasn't had enough time to really blossom. Like, we have had the content that Reiju sort of was built for, but for stuff like Dofi 2, like, Reiju just absolutely destroys. But Vivi, very, very good. Very, very good unit. Out of the 2, I would aim for Vivi. I think she's going to see more play. But in, like, Rumble, Reiju sort of takes the cake there a little bit. But, look, it is what it is. Alright, so the next unit we're going to talk about is V2 Kizaru. V2 Kizaru, for me, is a S tier sub. He's basically Rare Recruit King in a Legend. 10 turns of Special Reverse, 10 turns of Special Bind on himself. And then he gives cooldowns, he removes Special Binds, he gives Color Affinity, he has the highest chain boost in the game. Very, 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 very good unit. And he's free spirit. That's the thing that most people need to remember. He's a free spirit unit. So, you put him on someone like this's team, you start the chain multiplier at 2.5, add this on top of it, and you're starting the chain multiplier at 3.9, and then with something like the new Stussy, who's a shooter character, the rare recruit shooter, you can extend that by 0.2, like, it's wild what you can actually do. Like, it's actually wild. And all these, like, legends coming out just make these 2 characters so much better. These 2 characters, honestly, like, that's like one of the most valuable characters in the entire game, to be honest. But, look, it is what it is. Alright, so Kizaru, ST sub, great utility, color affinity, chain boost, not much else to say. His captain ability kind of dookie, mainly because he's a 5 times when you get the, when you use his special. I would rather use the Akainu as the captain than him as the sub, as well as then using Kuzan on the team as well. Look, I think Kuzan's probably has to be up here as A tier sub. Like, let's be real. Like, we can't put these 2 up here and then not have him in the mix. So let's bring him back up to A tier sub. All right, scrolling down now to the 2 newest legends. The 2 newest legends on the game. Kuma. I do think Kuma is an A tier captain. If we are purely just talking about his captain ability, he is an A tier captain. In saying that, though, I don't think he's nearly as good as, like, all of these characters here. I'm going to put him as a solid hybrid. His special lets him down something fierce. He's immune to blow away is amazing. He's a straight strength captain, which is pretty good. He's powerhouse, which is also pretty good. Downside is that stupid, like, 10 million damage thing. You're never going to see that, ever. Like, and it's hard to get, because he has no healing either. Like, it's like, why? But if you are running mono strength, you can easily partner him up with something like this kid. You can easily partner him with Kaido. You can partner him up for that blow away mechanic, as well as that reflection damage that Law is so renowned for. But he's just a solid hybrid, unfortunately. Don't summon for him. He's a PvP legend. Enel, in my opinion, is the best PvP legend, the most valuable PvP legend, wherever he is, in PvP anyway. But this time, Kizaru is the best in regular play. The final unit we're going to talk about is Lucci. Lucci. I don't know if Lucci's god tier. I haven't really made my assumption on him. I kind of compare him to Queen. I think that Lucci and Queen are very, very similar. And for that reason, where Queen is, I feel like Lucci should be as well. The upside to Lucci is he completely removes defense up. Like, he completely removes it, which is great. Really, really, really good. He gives a base stat boost like Shanks and Whitebeard, which is very underrated in my opinion. A lot of people forget about it. He's a very high orb boost, and then his super typing increases that orb boost again. So he's very, very nice and a very, very good unit. Increases the chance of landing matching orbs. The downside to him is fighters. I think fighters are starting to get a bit of a revolt. For that reason, I'm going to leave him as ST captain, but this is kind of subject to change here. That's going to be subject to change. So there you guys go. It's going to wrap up the tier list. Wow, this is an hour-long video, so I do apologize for the lengthiness. At the end of the video, I will leave like a screenshot of the entire tier list, so you guys can pause it there. And for you guys that did fast forward to the end, you guys will have to sort of find what characters, where they are, to get the assumption. But as you can see here, this is the one I'd be focusing on, your god tier characters. These ones here are the best characters in the game, in my opinion. And then we've got the S tier captains. They all make very, very good captains, but there are some characters that I would kind of avoid. Like, honestly, you probably don't even need to use Bullet. Like, Bullet you could easily just put there just because, but I do like using Bullet. Kaido's great value, so I would leave him here. And the rest of these guys all justify why they're there. The S tier subs, these particular units here, are all very, very good. If you are looking for some really good sub options, definitely get them done. The A tier subs and the A tier captains, you can kind of, like, not worry about too much unless the content requires you to do so. But they are still very, very good. A lot of these guys, you could argue that goes down in this content requires sort of tiers, but like anything down here, in like solid hybrid and A tier sub, it's kind of like up to you if you want to do them, but you do got to give credit where credit's due because they can still clear a lot of content in the game. If we go down to the bottom now, if we get down here to give you guys a better idea, the solid hybrids, these guys here, like this is more like fun if you're just looking for stuff to level up. Content requires, definitely don't level these guys up. Besides Jack, Buggy. Besides these two at the front here, they're the only two you really should be looking at from this particular tier. Everyone else is sort of at your own discretion, really. Pudding, you could easily make an argument for, though, with me. I could definitely take an argument for Pudding. Support, just get these guys to level 5 support, call it a day, throw them in the box, and then just never look at them again, let them collect dust. Rare recruit tier, like, these guys here, like, all pretty much need a 6+ if they don't have one already. But otherwise, like, you can easily replace these with rare recruits, so don't stress too much about them. And these guys down here, just absolute dookie. Do not worry about it. But like I said, I will put up a screenshot at the end. If you guys did enjoy the video and you come this far, I appreciate the absolute hell out of you. Don't forget to smash the like button. The sun is actually set while I've been recording this video as well. That's how long we've been going for. But don't forget to smash the like on this video if you did enjoy today's video. Wow, video. And if you are new, hit that big red subscribe button as well. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's!